Hey, divorcing gracefully and beyond sisters and community. This is a nice surprise today that I get to pop in the group because I had a call that was scheduled for 11. Oh, this is pretty cool too. I don't know if you see this, but well, you probably can't see it on my phone. It's 11:11 that we started this Facebook Live. So that's pretty cool. But my call didn't end up going through. So I thought, what's a better way to spend time than coming in here? And I guess I'm having problems talking today. Better way to spend time. That's good. My English is not doing so good today. What is a better way, right? I couldn't think of a better way to spend the next 10 minutes of my time than to be with you here in the wonderful Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond community. So happy Thursday. And what I wanted to talk about with you today is this concept of your state of being. So what I mean by your state of being is that we all have a physiological component to how we show up in the world, right? And most of us wake up in the morning, and how we wake up, what that mood is going to define how we spend that next day. Now, if that mood stays with us for a long period of time, that actually becomes a personality, right? So our physiological state of being is how we're showing up in the world and how our emotions and our moods are. So when we wake up in the morning, and let's just say, for instance, we wake up on the wrong side of the bed, we wake up cranky, we wake up just pissed off about something, that sets the mood for the day for most people. But for Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond sisters, we know different. Because just because we woke up in a certain physiological state of being doesn't mean we need to stay there. And we have the opportunity to challenge that and to reframe it. So the option that we have here, Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond, is understanding that just because we feel something doesn't mean it's a fact, right? And just because we're going through a time where it's something that I called the suck, right? So even in the suck, we could still have a joyful, peaceful, and happy life because we are deciding that our physiological state of being, that our normal state of being is no longer going to be anchored in loss or grief or what we don't have. We are making a decision that our physiological state of being is going to be in happiness, is going to be in joy, is going to be looking at what is possible for our life, and we're not going to tolerate anything less. So those mornings when you wake up and you're just in a mood, allow yourself to be there for a moment, right? You don't have to be afraid of it. You don't have to kind of run away from it. Just be there and acknowledge it. Become aware of it, and then understand the reasons behind it. Was it the sleep that you didn't get? Did you eat out last night and maybe you ate a little too much? Maybe you had a couple glasses too much wine. Maybe the day before you ran into your ex or saw him with his ex-wife and it just threw you for a loop, or saw him with his wife and threw you for a loop. Who knows what it is? Doesn't matter, because you get to say, okay, here I am. This is the day. This is how I woke up. And I'm going to change the trajectory of my day. I am going to change the physiological state of my being. And what you're going to do is you're going to ground in your gratitude. You're going to ground in what you have and what you have to be thankful for. Because in every mess, there's a miracle. I don't care what day it is. I don't care what anybody's been through. In every mess, there is a miracle. And that's what we're going to look for. So you can say, okay, yesterday was a tough day, or today was a tough day. And I want to stay stuck in this space of just being not in a good space. But that doesn't serve you. So when you say, okay, here's what happened and here's what I'm experiencing, and then you get to say, and I'm going to change my physiological state of being by, I am going to have control over my mood because I'm going to decide that I'm happy. I am deciding that the rest of the day is going to be a good day. That I'm deciding that just because I woke up this way doesn't mean the rest of the day needs to be that way. And then you begin to shift, because if you stay in the mood, what you're going to look at is you're going to look at the obstacles along the way. And your brain is going to scan the environment systematically and logically and look for everything that could possibly go wrong to affirm your belief system of how you woke up, that it's a shitty day. So if we allow our brain just to take over, well, that's what's going to happen. It's just going to take over, and it's going to look and make everything else just not good. So when we stop that pattern and we say, no, I am going to look at what's right, that the line is being drawn here. And as of today, and when I get up out of bed, take my shower, the rest of the day is going to be an amazing day because I'm choosing for it to be that way. That I am happy because my physiological state of being and my level of happiness isn't dependent on what happens outside of me. It isn't dependent if someone does or doesn't do something. I'm not dependent on that. What I'm dependent on is my connection to source. I'm dependent upon how I see myself in the world. I'm dependent upon understanding what my value system is, defining that, creating and reclaiming my brilliance, putting that down on paper, and that's what I'm going to go by, not by what someone does or doesn't do. Because if we're following what other people are defining what would be a good life for us, or what they think would make us a good person, we're never going to be happy because we're going to be actually in suffering because we can never make everybody happy. We've got to make ourselves happy. It's time to draw the line in the sand and make yourself happy. You've suffered long enough. You really have. There's no reason to be suffering any longer, and that your best model to your friends, to your family, to your staff, to the people you work with is to step up and to become the best version of yourself. We're not meant to play small in this world. We are meant for our lights to shine. We're meant for our lights to shine so bright. And by you not having your light shining is a disservice to yourself, to your family, to your friends, because pain is part of the game, guys. Like when we're in life, I'm not negating the pain. I'm not minimizing the pain, and I'm not being immune to it, right? Because if you're a boxer and you decide you want to become a boxer, you get in the ring and you get hit in the face, you can't be surprised. Like, holy shit, like, what the hell happened? I just got hit in the face. Of course you're going to get hit in the face. You're a boxer. That's your career. It's the same thing with life. We're going to have valleys and peaks in life. And some of us will have variations that are different, right? That some of us may experience more valleys. Some of us may experience more peaks. We don't know. This game of life is this game of life. And when we could look at it as, wait a minute, game on, I'm going to play this game, but now it's going to be by my rules. And I'm going to expect the valleys. I'm going to expect the peaks, but the valleys are no longer going to define me, and they're no longer going to be deciding my physiological state of being, of whether I'm happy or not. Because it doesn't matter what's going on outside of me, because inside of me, I have decided that I am happy. That is it. I will tolerate nothing less. And during those valleys, this is where I get to become aware of those valleys. I get to learn from those valleys. I get to ask myself, what muscle is the universe inviting me to build here? What could be good about this? What am I learning? What can I glean from this? And knowing that it's only a moment in time. It's not your forever. It's not your always. It's a moment in time. So when you're in the valley, you could say to yourself, this valley sucks. And I could still be happy, right? Because I'm expecting this. But when you're in the peak times of life, you could really look around and say, this is an amazing life. I am enjoying every single moment of this life. And when someone asks you, well, how was your day? You could say, great. I'm having an amazing day, because you don't have to shrink to make someone else feel good. You could stand in owning your day. And on the days that are really not so good, you get to say, when someone says to you, how's your day? Yeah, not so good today. And that's okay, because it's just the day. And I'm not going to make a meaning around it. I am going to look for what I know to be true, and that is my core happiness, that everything works out for me, that I'm a child, I'm a divine child of God, and that I have power and I could co-create where my life is going, and that the path along the way and the stumbling blocks and the stepping up are all part of the process, and I could be happy in every single part of the process. We don't want to get myopically attached to our problems. So what I would encourage you to do is think about, how much do you think about your future? How much do you think about your creation of life? How much do you think about what's possible for you versus where you've been through your divorce, through your pain, through what you've lost? When someone gets something, or a friend of yours, or community, or people at work, if they're dating and they're meeting a really nice person, do you look at them and say, I'm so incredibly happy for you? Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I am so happy for you that you are dating this wonderful person and that there's a possibility here for you to have a wonderful relationship? Or do you look at that and say, what the freak am I doing wrong? Like, why do they get it, but I don't? I don't understand. Like, I have my career in order. I have my family in order. I'm a really good person. I have a really good heart. I don't understand what's going wrong for me, right? When we're in that space of what's going wrong for me, that's an indicator that you're operating in lack. An indicator in when you're operating in abundance is you are happy for that other person. And that's where we want to esteem too, right? We weren't taught as young girls how to handle this landscape of divorce, right? No one gets married to become divorced. No one. So when you're at that point where you're noticing that you're operating in lack more than you are in abundance, that's what I would say an opportunity for you to say, what is it? How can I shift this? Because what I know to be true is the universe has something that's called the law of reciprocity. So it goes, if you want love, you give love. If you want money, you give money. If you want peace, then you be peace. So if we understand that this law of reciprocity is very active, it's going on right now in this moment, then when we look at someone with lack, well, then that's almost going to bring lack right back to us. Versus if we look at the person and we say we're so happy for them, because we know if we're happy for someone else, then we're happy for ourselves, and we're going to get the universal feedback where things are going to go our way. And sooner or later, if she could do it, so could you. Right? And sooner or later, people are going to look at you and say, wow, look at her. Like, I'm so happy for you. Other people may not. If they're in lack, they may look like, what is she doing that I'm not? Right? But you're going to have that life you desire. But the difference between people who are successful and who aren't successful, and the people who reclaim their brilliance, create great relationships, it all starts with themselves, right? It's starting with yourself to identify those subconscious belief systems, patterns, and behaviors that are keeping you stuck. Because 95% of how you operate your life is subconscious. So if we're only looking at the conscious part of what we're thinking consciously, we're already at a loss. We have to go in and dig deep and pull out those weeds on the subconscious basis. And it's not to say you have to go on the couch and go through a therapist and go through Freudian, yes, could that be important? Absolutely, to look at your past. But more importantly is you want to look at coaching, because coaching looks at where you're going. Coaching is going to look at your outcome. Coaching is not going to look at where you were coming from and spending so much time thinking about that. It's looking more about where you're going. It's looking at more about what you want. It's keeping you accountable to your outcome. So just like a marathon person, right, a runner who decides they're going to run a marathon, along the way there are checkpoints. There are people that are giving that person water. There are people that are giving that person, the emotional response that they need by cheering them on. There may be places for them to rest in shade. There's people around them to help them and support them along the way so they can make it across the finish line. And guys, it's the same thing here. You are doing yourself a disservice if you're not working with a coach or you're not working with a professional to help you across this line in this relationship area thing. You need that accountability. You need that person to say, hey, Susie, you've got this. Here's your glass of water. Keep going. This is what you need. You're doing a great job. Oh, you're in a valley? No problem. Let's look at the valley. Let's learn from the valley. Let's transmute the pain into pleasure. Let's look at what you could take from that and then glean that, get rid of what you don't need, and let's move forward. Because I don't know about you, but the hardest and the most challenging thing in life is going it alone. It is so difficult to go alone because we only know what we know. And then what we do is we look at our obstacles and we apply the same thinking that we've learned in the past, expecting a different result, and it doesn't happen. So what I would encourage you to do is begin to think about where you could get support. Begin to think about what support would look like for you. And think outside of the box, right? Think outside of the box. Think about not going into a therapeutic relationship to just revisit where you're coming from, but think about a more of a coaching relationship to look at where you're going to. And it may be a different way that you've operated in the past, but this is the way that's going to get you to your future. And it's also stepping into your eternal belief system if deep down inside you don't believe that having a good relationship is possible for you, or that having that job that you want is possible for you, or whatever it is that you're looking towards, if your internal belief system is wobbly and you don't believe it's possible for you, at the end of the day, it's not going to be possible for you, because subconsciously your mind is going to create every obstacle in the way to reaffirm the belief that this can't happen. That's why if you say, I can't wait, I'm absolutely ready for my partner, I'm ready for him to come into my life, you get excited, you go on Match, and let's say deep down inside you really don't believe that's possible. You've been hurt, you've had the soul fracture, and you just don't believe that that's possible for you. Well, when you go on Match, guess what's going to happen? You're likely not going to be meeting the right people for yourself. You may get on a date that may end up going into a short-term relationship that will end up not being that way. Your heart may be broken again and again and again. And that's because you're trying to solve this relationship thing logically, the way that we apply the same principles to business and life, and it doesn't work that way. We have to apply a completely different way of how to handle our relationships. It is not the same as how we handle business and life. It's a totally different system, process, and philosophy. But if you don't change that internal belief system to really believe that it's possible for you, you're likely going to encounter struggle. So today, sit back and think about what you really believe is possible for you. Not logically, but I want you to go here. Because again, your brain may say this is possible, but then if you have that little voice that comes up right past that and says, I don't know, you know what happened last time, or we don't just come from a family that does that, there's no good guys out there, look at all the dates you've been on in the past, what makes you think that anything is going to change, right? So if that languaging is coming up, that's a little bit of a message for you to, and also feedback for you that your internal belief system is limiting you, and that needs to be changed, right? Because no one is limiting you but you. And I know that may be hard to hear. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's not that you don't have the tools to get to where you're going, but that internal belief system that's based upon what our parents told us, based upon our experiences of where we've been hurt. Our internal belief system is guiding us to our future, but our internal belief system is flawed. It's limping along. It's not a healthy internal belief system of what's possible for us in relationships. So if we're already beginning our step into relationships from a flawed internal belief system that's limping along, that has holes in it all across the way, what makes us believe that we could have a really good relationship with a really good man and a really good person come in through that? Right? It's sort of one of those moments, just one of those mind-blowing moments. You've got to reframe your internal belief system and make it rock solid, the foundational belief of what's possible for you, of where you could go and what you can achieve. That's what needs to change first. Going out and dating, going out and trying to figure it out on your own is not going to help you. You've got to take a little bit of a step back, and you've got to re-engage with your dream. You've got to create that bulletproof internal belief system of what is possible for you. And that's going to be your anchor. Those are going to be what you're going to look at in the times of the valleys, because that's going to be your guide. Your guide of your bulletproof anchor system of what's possible is going to keep you going. That's going to be your water along the way. So anyway, with that said, I could talk for hours, but I'm going to run. I hope this conversation helped you, and take a look at your internal state of being. Take a look at practicing. If you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, just make the decision that today, nope, it's not going to happen that way. I'm deciding today's going to be a good day. I'm deciding I'm going to have an awesome day. I'm deciding today's going to be a day of miracles and synchronicities. Can't wait to see who I'm going to meet. I can't wait to see the experiences that I'm going to experience, and that everything works out for me, because you get to decide how you wake up. You get to decide how your day is going to play out. Just because it's playing out in a way that's not good doesn't mean you have to follow it. You get to take control. Your body is not your mind. You get to decide how you're showing up. You get to hold that internal belief system. You get to choose your physiological state of being, and don't let your body tell you otherwise. Your body is conditioned and used to pain, is conditioned and used to things not working out, but that's just conditioning. We're going to break through that. So think about your belief systems. Think about how you're showing up in the world. Begin to experiment and play with not allowing the day to get away from you and deciding your physiological state of being right from the beginning of the day. And even if things go sideways during the middle of the day, get back on track. Get into that physiological state of being. If it goes at the end of the night, same thing. You have power. So with that said, mwah, I love you guys, Divorcing Gracefully sisters. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye.